All right, Shalom, Israel, Shalom. It's Brother Nashan, New Wine Congregation of Israel. All right, we're going to give all honor and glory to the Most High God, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah. Right, Most High willing, I'm finna start this series, right? It'll be a new series on our channel. All right, 12 tribes broken down, right? Going into how we know which tribe is which one. All right, first, I decided to deal with Northern Kingdom. I've been putting this information together for a long time, for months actually, compiling different books. Of course, we're gonna use the Bible. That's gonna be our main source. All right, but been putting together just different information, man, and really just trying to prove it to myself so that I can bring it to you, and understand it fully for myself. Why we say which tribes are who, and just kind of connect the dots the best we can, right? Of course, we may be off as far as thinking who we are. You may get to the kingdom and say you think you Judah, find out you Asher. You just never know. Nonetheless, as long as your spirit bears witness with the Bible, that's the main DNA test. All right, that spiritual DNA test. If your spirit bear witness with the scriptures, hey, you Israel, man. That's all I can say to you, right? So I think I'm gonna probably create a playlist on our page and start just inserting these videos into that playlist, and it'll be Israel, the 12 tribes broken down, right? So the first part of the series is gonna be dealing with Northern Kingdom, right? And this class is gonna be more or less like an intro. All right. I'm gonna get into how Israel comes in different shades, first off. Salaki, you got some Israelites that teach that if your hair is not woolly like mine and you don't have brown skin, then you're not Israel, right? They teach that the so-called Hispanics and Native Americans are not Israel, which is not true. And we're gonna prove that most high willing um, through a series, giving a bunch of different information, a bunch of different scholars, a bunch of different books. You see, I've been compiling books. Y'all can't really see it, but yeah, I've been compiling different books for a while, just on uh different topics, you know what I'm saying, as far as it pertains and relates to Israel. Right. So I'm gonna do my best to bring you the information. If I do use a book, I'll let you know what it is, through the spirit. And if I have a source, I'll let you know what that source is so you can get it yourself. Just know we don't have a whole bunch of traffic on our channel right now, so it shouldn't be too bad. A lot of times when you put stuff out like that, Esau kind of make it hard to get your hands on certain books or certain materials just because he wants it to be uh hid in these last days, right? But it's coming out through the spirit. All praise to the Most High. All right, so let's get into it. All right, without further ado, like I said, this is gonna be like an intro, pretty much. This video, all right, this class, and then hopefully we can keep them coming at least once a week, and just continue to prove without a shadow of a doubt that the Hispanics and the Native Americans are also Israelites, right? And we're gonna kind of show you why we put them, the groups and the categories and the groups that we put them in. All right, so let's get it started. Let me share the screen. All right. Yeah, share the screen. Let's open up the Bible. Kind. All praise to the Most High. We're gonna start in the book of Genesis. Right, we're gonna go through a lot of scriptures. I don't know how long it's gonna take. We're just gonna try to get through it though. Right. Like I said, I've been trying to be very meticulous about it and put together the information in an easy way to understand it. All right, so let's deal with this. Genesis chapter 38, and let's read verse 1 through 5. It says, and it came to pass at that time that Judah went down from his brethren and turned into a certain Adulamite, whose name was Hira, right? It says, and Judah saw there a daughter of a certain Canaanite, whose name was Shua, and he took her and went in unto her, right? So Canaanite women had children from Judah, all right? And Onan died, and only Shula lived, is what you're gonna come to find out, right? So that's part of why most of Judah is dark skinned, right? Keep that in mind, though. Let's keep going. And she conceived and bare a son, and he called his name And she conceived again and bare a son, and she called his name Onan. And she yet again conceived and bare a son, and called his name Shelah. And he was at Chizib when she bare him. All right, so these women came from a Canaanite woman who Judah had children from. Right, first I'm gonna deal kind of with just that Israel comes in all shades. Right, maybe that'll be the name of this one. Israel in all shades. Right, different shades of brown. Right, this is why we don't go off the color of the skin. Right, I can't stress that enough. Let the Bible is a tool, right? The Bible is a tool. Let me get this quick precept, man, and we're gonna come back. Romans chapter 8 and verse 16. This is why I love the Bible, because it's spiritual. It's really spiritual. You can't outwork the Bible. It'll do what it does on its own, right? It says the spirit itself beareth witness with our spirit that we are the children of God, right? So when you read this Bible, it's not hard to tell who's who, because even Israel ain't all Israel, which is what Paul also said in Romans 9, right? All Israel ain't Israel. Read the Bible. When we at camp, our job is to just teach. That's all our job is to do. Just teach, because if you go off the color of somebody's skin, you could be very well guilty of turning or rejecting somebody that's Israel. All right. If Esau is Esau, it ain't hard to tell. Just bring out the scriptures and the judgment about Esau. If he don't agree with it all, and that go for you dark skinned folks. If you don't agree with all of the things that the Bible say, you ain't Israel. Simple as that, right? So we're gonna be dealing with Israel came in all shades, all different shades, right? So let's go to Genesis chapter 39 now. And we're gonna read verses 1 through 15. All right, it says, and Joseph was brought down to Egypt. Egypt is Hamites, right? And Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, captain of the guard, an Egyptian, brought him of the hands of the Ishmaelites, which had brought him down thither. And the Lord was with Joseph, and he was a prosperous man, and he was in the house of his master, the Egyptian. And his master saw that the Lord was with him, and that the Lord made all that he did to prosper in his hand. And Joseph found grace in his sight, and he served him, and he made him overseer over his house, and all that he had put into his hand. And it came to pass from the time that he had made him overseer in his hand, and over all that he had, that the Lord blessed the Egyptian's house for Joseph's sake. And the blessing of the Lord was upon all that he had in the house and in the field. And he left all that he had in Joseph's hand. And he knew not aught he had, save the bread which he did eat. And Joseph was a goodly person and well favored. Right? So Joseph was thrown into the well by his brothers. Backstory: his brothers wanted to kill him. They threw him in the well. The Ishmaelites came and took him out of the well, and they sold him to the Egyptians. Joseph became ruler over Potiphar's house, and Potiphar didn't even know all of what he had. Joseph was just running it and making sure everything ran smoothly, right? So that's what you got going on, right? So it says Joseph was good looking, right? He was a goodly person and well favored. He had a good personality as well, charismatic, if you will. It says, and it came to pass after these things that his master's wife cast her eyes upon Joseph, and she said, lie with me. Right. So Potiphar's wife probably was fine. He was a ruler over Egypt. He probably had a bad wife, Hamite sister. Nonetheless, she looked at Joseph and wanted him to smash. And Joseph refused, right? But he refused and said unto his master's wife, behold, my master wotteth not what is with me in the house. And he hath committed all that he hath to my hand. There is none greater in his house than I. Neither hath he kept back anything from me but thee, because thou art his wife. How then can I do this great wickedness and sin against God? Right? So he knew that was adultery, to sleep with this man's wife. And it came to pass, as she spake to Joseph day by day, that he hearkened not unto her to lie by her or to be with her. So she every day she coming at Joseph, right? And it came to pass about this time that Joseph went into the house to do his business, and there was none of the men of the house there within. And she caught him by his garment, saying, lie with me. And he left his garment in her hand and fled and got him out. Man, whew, I hope I can do that, right? That's a skill. What? To just flee, to run when you get put in a position of like that, right? That's something you gotta have your mind made up to do, brothers. It said, and it came to pass when she saw that he had left his garment in her hand, and he was fled forth, that she called unto the men of her house and spake unto them, saying, see, he hath brought an Hebrew unto us to mock us. He came in unto me to lie with me, and I cried with a loud voice. So she basically accused Joseph of raping her, right? Verse 15, and it came to pass when he heard that when he heard that I lifted up my voice and cried, that he left his garment with me and fled and got him out. So she framed Joseph, right? Joseph ended up going to prison behind that. Right, let's jump to chapter 41 and let's read verse 44. It says, and Pharaoh said unto Joseph, I am Pharaoh, and without thee shall no man lift up his hand or foot in all the land of Egypt. So Joseph was put in given status after this, right? It says, and Pharaoh called Joseph's name Zaphnath, and he gave him to wife Asenath, the daughter of Potiphar's priest of On. And Joseph went out over all the land of Egypt, right? So Joseph had a Hamite wife, right? His wife was a Hamite. Asenath, or however you say it, right? Let's jump over to chapter 48. Just giving you the idea, these men laid with women that weren't always of their nation. So their children came out not always looking like they did. Keep in mind, Jacob had two wives who were Shemites, and two wives that were like heathens, the handmaids, right? They weren't Shemites. I don't believe them. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I don't believe that they were Shemites. Right? Let's jump over to chapter 48. Genesis 48. We'll go through a lot of scriptures just to paint a picture of Israel's progression and how these children look. Right? Genesis 48, and let's read verse 8. All right, it says, and Israel beheld Joseph's sons and said, who are these? Right? Why is he asking who are these? Because they didn't necessarily look like everybody else, right? Because he had children with an Egyptian woman. You understand? So keep in mind, we the only ones had the custom to marry within our nation. We did that. Everybody else was just dealing with, everybody. So their people looked a little different, a little spread it around anyway, right? So this woman wasn't necessarily a dark-skinned woman. That's why that's why Israel, Jacob, looked at Joseph's sons and said, "Who are these?" And he said, and Joseph said unto his father, "They are my sons, whom God hath given me in this place." And he said, "Bring them, I pray thee, unto me, and I will bless them." Right? So Jacob blessed Joseph's sons. Right? So let's go from there. I want to keep reading. We're gonna get into this part at another time. At another time. I'm just gonna deal with right now, painting a picture that they all look different, right? Go to Exodus now. Exodus chapter 2 and verse 21. It says, and Moses was content to dwell with the man, and he gave Moses Zipporah, his wife. Right? So Zipporah was a Hamite, right? Moses had a heathen wife. Just like Joseph did, right? Just like Joseph did. Let's go real quick to Leviticus. Let's see. Yeah, let's read 22. And she bare him a son, and he called his name Gershom, for he said, I have been a stranger in a strange land. Right? So he had that child while he was in that land, being a stranger for 40 years. That's the reason why the Lord permitted it, so to speak, right? Because he was gone. He didn't know no better. Right? So let's go here to Leviticus chapter 24 and verse 10. It says, and the son of the Israelitish woman, whose father was an Egyptian, went out among the children of Israel. And this son of the Israelitish woman and the man of Israel strove together in the camp. Right? So you had heathen and is a heathen child and an Israelite child fighting. It says, and the Israelitish woman's sons blasphemed the name of the Lord and cursed. And they brought him unto Moses, and his mother's name was Shillemith, the daughter of Debri, of the tribe of Dan. And they put him in ward that the mind of the Lord might be showed them. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, bring forth him that hath cursed without the camp, and let all that heard him lay their hand upon his head, and let all the congregation stone him. And thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel, saying, whosoever shall curse his God shall bear his sin. And he that blaspheme the name of the Lord, he shall surely be put to death. And all the congregation shall certainly stone him, as well as the stranger, as he that is born in the land. When he blaspheme the name of the Lord, shall be put to death. Right? So saying that to say, you had in the camp of Israel already when we came out of Egypt, you had mixed up people. Some people was like not all the way Israel, right? It was a mixed multitude that came out. So we was steady mixing and breeding amongst each other, right? Let's stay in Exodus. Let's go to chapter 18. No, I'm in Leviticus. Let's go to Exodus 18 and let's read verse 1. When Jethro, the priest of Midian, Moses' father-in-law, heard of all that God had done for Moses and for for Israel, his people, and that the Lord had brought Israel out of Egypt, then Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, took Zipporah, Moses' wife, after he had sent her back, and her two sons, of which the name of the one was Gershom, for he said, I have been an alien in a strange land. And the name of the other was Eleazar, for the God of my father said he was my help and delivered me from the sword of Pharaoh. Right? So Moses' wife was an Ethiopian. She was a Cushite, and he had these two sons from her. Right? So Moses' sons would have looked a little different as well. But they were Israel because the man carries the seed. Right? They looked a little different though. These were Levites, right? With their mother being a Cushite, right? Let's keep going. Let's go to Genesis. Let's go back to Genesis 49. We're gonna have to deal with that. Genesis 49. And let's read verse 22, right? So Joseph's sons, this is a prophecy about Joseph's sons, right? Joseph's sons is Manasseh and Ephraim. All right. So his sons will prophesy. Ephraim is what we call the so-called Puerto Ricans today. All right. Manasseh will be your Cubans. All right. It says Joseph is a fruitful bow, even a fruitful bough by fruitful bough, even a fruitful bough by a well, whose branches run over the wall. Right? When it said the branches run over the wall, this was prophesying that in the land of Puerto Rico, specifically, the women would climb over the walls and have sex with the heathens. Right? That's what this is going into. It says the archers have grieved him and shot at him and hated him, going into the conquistadors. But his bow abode in strength. And the arms of his hands were made strong by the hands of the mighty God of Jacob. From thence is the shepherd, the stone of Israel. Right? It says, even by the God of thy father, who shall help thee, and by the Almighty, who shall bless thee with blessings of heaven above, blessings of the deep that lieth under, blessings of the breast and of the womb, right? The blessing of thy father have prevailed above the blessing of my progenitors, and unto the utmost bound of the everlasting hills. They shall be on the head of Joseph and on the crown of the head of him that was separate from his brethren, right? Meaning Joseph his children was going to be plentiful, right? That's why you got a lot of Puerto Ricans. It's a lot of them, and it's a lot of Cubans, right? Going into the breast of the womb, they would have a lot of children, right? That goes to show that Joseph's children was going to be plentiful and that they was going to be in a place that was close to the heathen, saying that it was going to climb on the wall and that the heathen shot at them, right? They said by a well, meaning water, right? Let's go from there. Let's go to 2 Samuel. So Joseph's seed was prophesied to be fruitful and to live by water. Let's go to 2 Samuel now, chapter 5. And verse 10. Right? It says, and David went on and grew great, and the Lord God of hosts was with him. And Hiram, king of Tyre, sent messengers to David, and cedar trees, and carpenters, and masons, and they built David an house. Right? So Hiram, keep that in mind. Hiram was a helper to David. Him and David was cool, right? King of Tyre. The Tyre is the Sidonians, which are Canaanites. They come from Sidon. All right. So Sidon, let me see if I can show you on a map. All right. So look at here, Sidon and Tyre. This is Israel. Right. This is the kingdom of Israel. So Jerusalem is here. right, where the temple would be built, and king of Tyre, Hiram. They were right here close to us, right? So they were not far from, they were like close next door neighbors to us as far as like being close to them, right? So Hiram and David was cool. They was close together, right? From there, let's go to First Kings. First Kings chapter 5. And let's read verse 1. It says, and Hiram, king of Tyre, sent his servants unto Solomon, for he had heard that they had anointed him king in the room of his father. For Hiram was ever a lover of David. Hiram loved David, right? And Solomon sent to Hiram, saying, thou knowest how that David, my father, could not build an house unto the name of the Lord his God, for the wars which were about him on every side, until the Lord put him under the soles of his feet, put them under the soles of his feet. But now the Lord my God have given me rest on every side, so that there is neither adversary nor evil occurring. And behold, I propose to build an house unto the name of the Lord my God, as the Lord spoke unto David my father, saying, thy son, whom I will set upon thy throne in thy room, he shall build an house unto thy name. Right, so Solomon would continue off where his father left off as far as building the temple. Now, therefore, command thou that they hew me cedar trees out of Lebanon, and my servants shall be with thee. My servants shall be with thy servants, and unto thee will I give hire for thy servants, according to all that thou shalt appoint. For thou knowest that there is not among us any that can skill to hew timber like unto the Sidonians. So the Sidonians were the best timber cutters. That's something that they had that they were good at, right? Let's go from there. Let's go to chapter 7. And let's read verse 13. All right, it said, and King Solomon sent and fetched Hiram out of Tyre. Right? So Hiram is the widow of a son, right? Hiram, let's gonna say it in verse 14. He was a widow's son of the tribe of Naphtali. So that's what made him really kind of cool with Israel. His mama was an Israelite, right? So Israel mixed, but he himself, Hiram, was a Hamite, right? His mom was an Israelite. His mama was an Israelite of the tribe of Naphtali. It says, and his father was a man of Tyre, a worker in brass, and he was filled with wisdom and understanding and cunning to work all works in brass. And he came to King Solomon and wrought all his work. Right. So Hiram was a widowed son of the tribe of Tyre. His father was a Canaanite. So you had different, Israel was always mingling amongst the nations. We was always doing that, right? That's why back then we kept a meticulous book of records. If you couldn't show your father's house back then when we had our records, then you would consider just a heathen and unclean, right? Because your father determines the seed once again, right? From there, let's go to chapter 11. Just proving and dealing with the point that Israel always mixed themselves. They always mingled with other nations, right? But King Solomon loved many strange women, together with the daughter of Pharaoh, women of the Moabites, Ammonites. Ammonites are Japanese, Edomites, white girls, Zidonians, Hamites, Africans, and Hittites, Africans, of the nations concerning which the Lord said unto the children of Israel, ye shall not go into them, neither shall they come in unto you, for surely they will turn away your heart from after their gods. They will turn away your hearts after their gods. Solomon clave unto these in love. So Solomon loved many strange women, right? He loved them, right? Let's go to Ecclesiastes. So how you think his children look? He had children that looked. Now Solomon was from Judah, the tribe of Judah. But his children, with some of them was light skin, dark skin, brown skin, red bones. Some of them probably he had China with small eyes. That's why Judah, we got all kind of different features, right? My eyes kind of small, you know what I'm saying? But I'm Judah, you know what I mean? But we got all kind of features, you know what I'm saying? Because of the mixing that went on in our nation, right? So I'm just dealing with this, like I said, as a preface to the class before we get into like all these books and stuff and go through each tribe. I'm just setting the tone to let you know Israel mixed themselves extremely at all times, right? Let's go to Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastes 7 and verse 25 and verse through 28, right? It says, I apply my heart to know and to search and to seek out wisdom and the reasoning of things and to know the wickedness of folly, even of foolishness and madness. So Solomon had two vices. Solomon wanted to know everything and he loved women, all types of women. It didn't matter. He liked them all, right? He said, and I find more bitter than death the woman whose heart is snares and nets, and her hands as bands. Whoso pleaseth God shall escape from her, but the sinner shall be taken by her. Behold, this I have found, saith the preacher, counting one by one to find out the account, which yet my soul seeketh, but I find not one. I find not one man among 1,000 have I found, but a woman among all those have I not found. So what is he saying? He like, look, Solomon had 700 wives and 300 concubines, which is a concubine is a wife. It's just a wife that you deal with just with uh for sex, right? She's your wife, you're gonna take care of her, but you're not dealing with her like you would a normal wife. You just with her for the purposes of sex. That's a concubine, right? So no, he wasn't just committing fornication, but he did have wives from women that he shouldn't have wives on, right? So basically what he's saying is, look, I went through all my wives. I looked at them all. Out of all of them, I didn't find one that was right. Out of 1,000 women, I didn't find out one woman that was right. Out of 1,000 men, I might find one that knew a little something. Not saying women are stupid at all, not at all. He's just stressing the fact that most women are wicked as hell. That's what he said. That's what the Bible said. I didn't say it, right? So that's what he said, right? Let me see where I want to go. I don't want to leave nothing out. Uh, Solomon was definitely weak, right? And that's ultimately what caused the kingdom to split. Solomon being weak for them women, man. Let me get that in the book of. But that's also why you have all these different shades in Israel, right? Israel is all shades. Sirach 47 and verse 13, right? It says Solomon reigned in a peaceable time and was honored, for God made all quiet round about him, that he might build an house in his name and prepare his sanctuary forever. How wise wast thou in thy youth, and Salakia, and as a flood filled with understanding, thy soul covered the whole earth, and thou fillest it with dark parables. Thy name went far unto the islands, and for thy peace thou was beloved. The countries marveled at thee for thy songs and proverbs and parables and interpretation. So Solomon was a rapper. You know what I'm saying? His dad wrote songs. So Solomon had the bars too. You know what I'm saying? Song of Solomon. You know, it says, by the name of the Lord, which is called the Lord God of Israel, thou didst gather gold as 10, and didst multiply silver as lead. We're gonna get into that, deal with that a lot later on in this series, right? Him having so much gold. There were no gold deposits in Israel, right? So Solomon had to go somewhere to get that gold. We're gonna deal with that. That's gonna be very important later on, right? It says, thou didst bow thy loins unto women, and by thy body thou was brought into subjection. So that was his weakness, women. He was a simp, for lack of a better word, right? No disrespect, but that's just what it was. You know, he bowed his loins unto women, right? He let women control. That's what uh the result of him marrying all those heathen women was, right? Bro couldn't pass him up, right? So let's go from there. So Solomon had children that looked like some of everything. The point I want to bring out from that. So let's go to First Kings chapter 14 and verse 21. All right, so it says, and Rehoboam, the son of Solomon, reigned in Judah. Rehoboam was 41 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 17 years in Jerusalem, the city which the Lord did choose out of all the tribes of Israel, to put his name there. And his mother's name was Naamah, an Ammonitess. So Rehoboam, dad was Judah, which made him Judah, but his mama was an Ammonite. So his mama was what you would call a Japanese person. So what you think he looked like? He had probably small eyes like mine and brown skin or a lighter skin or like curly hair. He might have not have had like woolly hair, pinky hair. So it's a thing going around saying if you ain't got woolly hair and dark skin that you're not Israel. And you got light skinned brothers saying this with slick hair. That's not true. Israel looked like all shades, man. All different shades, right? Watch this. Let's go to Jeremiah. We got mixed up when we went into all these different captivities. Jeremiah chapter 50 and 17. It says, Israel is a scattered sheep. The lions have driven him away. First, the king of Assyria have devoured him. And last, this Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, have broken his bones. Right? So, northern kingdom was conquered by Assyria. Right? Assyria devoured them, meaning what? They laid with our women. The men was like laying with they women. They devoured us, right? So we got mixed up there. It says Babylon did it too. Babylon treated us pretty damn bad, right? Assyria treated us pretty bad, right? Let's go to Second Kings. So we got scattered first by Assyria and then by Babylon, who's Babylonians is Canaanites, right? Want to say Assyrians are, let me see. They come from Assur. Okay, Assyrians are Shemites, yep. Second son of Shem. All right, but Babylonians come from Canaan. Come from Canaan, who come from Ham. All right, Khan. All right, so we got scattered, right? So when Assyria took over, uh, that was when you had Shalmaneser V come in, right, and besiege us. That's important to understand because when Shalmaneser came into play, and that's when you started having a northern kingdom pretty much break away from them and come into this side of the world, right? During that captivity, a lot of us went, and we're gonna also I'm like I say, I'm just kind of giving like a overview right now. We're gonna kind of backtrack and go over a lot of this stuff again, especially dealing with Solomon and what he did during his time. And we're gonna get into how those people ended up, Northern Kingdom really ended up on this side of the world, and we're gonna go through a lot of different sources and that line up with the Bible to show you how we know who's who, how we know Issachar is Mexican, how we know Brazilians is Asher, and so on and so forth. Right. So let's go to Second Kings real quick. This is a class, you're gonna want to take a lot of notes. You're gonna want to probably watch it again, maybe even order some of these books that we got, and that's another reason to give alms, because your alms, all these books were not bought with alms. They're bought with my own money, but alms go a long way because you can help us get different books and things like that to bring out classes like this, right? So some books are very expensive. Some books are like $60,000. We probably won't get them books. But the books that's written when we was in slavery, them the books we want, right? A lot of those books go into like details that Black people weren't supposed to see, right? So let me see real quick. Start at verse 5. Right. So it says, then the king of Assyria came up throughout all the land and went up to Samaria and besieged it 3 years. Right. So this is important. He would come up, when they say besieged it, I mean, he came up, took some slaves and went back. Came up, took some slaves and went back. Came up, took some slaves and went back. Right? This happened in Samaria. Samaria was where the majority of Northern Kingdom resided at. Right? That's where you get the Samaritan, the Great Samaritan, and all that. That's where all that comes from. Right? Watch this. Go to, let me open up another one of these. Right? The book of Hosea. Try to not go fast, man, because that's how I be leaving stuff out. Yeah, Isaiah 7 and 9. Dealing with that Northern Kingdom was majority of them was in Samaria. All right, it says, in the head of Ephraim, when it says Ephraim, it's talking about Northern Kingdom, right? That Ephraim was the chief tribe in Northern Kingdom. It says Ephraim is Samaria, and the head of Samaria is Romulus. son. If you will not believe, surely ye shall not be established, right? So Ephraim is Samaria. That's the same. When you see Samaria, that's talking about Ephraim, northern kingdom, right? The Samaritan. That's what that's talking about. Right. So let's go back to Second Kings. It says he came up and went up to Samaria and besieged it 3 years. Why? Because that's where Israel was. That's where Northern Kingdom was. Right? Samaria is the capital of Ephraim. It says, in the 9th year of Hoshea, the king of Assyria took Samaria and carried Israel, talking about Northern Kingdom, away into Assyria and placed them in Halah and in Habor by the river of Gozan and in the cities of the Medes, right? So Halah, Habar, Gozan, and Medes, right? That's where they were placed at. Keep that in mind. It's going to be important later, right? It said in the city of the Medes. Medes come from Japheth. So when they was in them cities, what you think they was doing? Mixing and mingling the way that Israel always do, right? It says, let me see. So they were placed in the city of the Medes. Medes, Madai, the people of the Medes live in what you would call northern Iran today, right? So, because Assyria Empire encompassed a lot. It was over near where Iran and Iraq is today during the time of the Assyrian Empire, right? When Babylonians came up, they took away portion of that region from them, right? But before that, they took over where Babylon was at. Babylon kind of helped Assyria do what they was doing, right? So from there, let's go to, so I'm just showing you how Israel was mixed up. Let's go to Second Chronicles, chapter 30. And let me see. All right, let's start at verse 1. It says, and Hezekiah sent to all Israel and Judah and wrote letters also to Ephraim and Manasseh that they should come to the house of the Lord at Jerusalem to keep the Passover unto the Lord God of Israel. For the king had taken counsel and his princes and all the congregation in Jerusalem to keep the Passover in the 2nd month, which is the makeup Passover for anybody that was unclean, who couldn't keep it on the proper date, which would be in the 1st month, the 14th of Abib, right? It says, for they could not keep it at that time because the priests had not sanctified themselves sufficiently. Neither had the people gathered themselves together to Jerusalem, right? So that just made me think, I mean, our praises to the Most High that we even get to rehearse the righteous acts. That's simply all we're doing. When we keep Passover, we're supposed to do it in Jerusalem. We're supposed to do it a specific way, right? We don't do it that way no more because, I mean, we're in captivity, but we're simply rehearsing the righteous acts, man. We're doing the best we can until we get in the kingdom, until we can be cleansed again, until we can be put in our homeland again, right? So they couldn't keep the Passover the way they wanted to. They had to keep it the 2nd month because the priest was unclean, right? So Hezekiah wrote to the remnants of Ephraim and Manasseh to keep the Passover, right? It said the reason he's writing to them is because many of Northern Kingdom at that time was in Assyrian captivity and in the areas of Assyria Empire. But at that time, a lot of them fled into Northern Africa, right? Well, fled into deeper into Africa, which is where your Yorubas come from, your Yoruba tribe, right? A lot of them are Northern Kingdom, believe it or not, right? So let me watch this. It says, let me see if I want to keep reading. Uh, All right, right. So let's go from there. Let's go see. Let me see on this website real quick. All right, so watch this. We're gonna read a little bit about the Assyrians. Let me see where I want to start. Mm, yeah, right here. All right, so it says the Assyrian conquerors invented a new policy toward the conquered. Right, this is where I'm starting. Let me see if I can blow it up. Yeah, here we go. I'm starting from right here. All right. So it says the Assyrian conquerors invented a new policy towards the conquered in order to prevent nationalist revolts by the conquered people. The Assyrians would force the people they conquered to migrate in large numbers to other areas of the empire. Besides guaranteeing the security of the empire built off of conquered people of Mesopotamia and Armenia, turned the region into a melting pot of diverse cultures, religions, and languages. All right, so that's the way, that's part of Assyrian oppression. Basically, the Trail of Tears before it happened to Northern Kingdom over on this side of the world, right? So they would force you to go to different parts of their empire in mass droves, right? This is Shalmaneser the third during 858 BC, but we're gonna read about Shalmaneser the fifth when we get to Second Ezra, right? So the one who was coming in, that was Shalmaneser, probably Shalmaneser the third, who was coming in during the time of Hosea, who was coming in and besieged it 3 times, right? That was probably more than likely. No, that by that time, that was probably Shalmaneser. That was Shalmaneser the fifth around that time, right? So nonetheless, part of Assyrian oppression, the way they conquered their individuals, their nations was they would force people to mingle, basically. They would force you to migrate, forced migration. That's the Trail of Tears before it happened here in America, right? So that was the lot for that tribe, for Gad, for Reuben, for even Issachar. A lot of them were for forced migration, right? Because that whole west coast of the United States, a lot of that was Aztec territory. Texas, California, a lot of that was Aztec. The Aztecs are Issachar, right? A lot of that was them, and they forced them to migrate when they took that land from them. The same way the Assyrians would conquer people and force you to migrate in large numbers to other areas of the empire, right? And it says the conquered people would have different languages. It says different religions, and where it said, I lost my spot again. I think I'm being old, y'all. I'm gonna have to get some glasses, I think. Mass deportations of the populations in the Middle East, Mesopotamia, and Armenia turned the region into a melting pot of diverse cultures, right? Diverse cultures and religions and languages. Whereas there would be little cultural contact between the conquered and the conquerors in the early Mesopotamian history. Under the Assyrian, the entire area became a vast experiment in cultural mixing. So if the cultures got mixed, what you think the people was doing? Mixing, right? It was the Assyrian monarch Sargon II who first forcefully relocated Hebrews after the conquest of Israel, the northern kingdom of the Hebrews, right? So when it says Israel, it's saying northern kingdom of the Hebrews most of the time. Although this was a comparatively mild deportation and perfectly in line with Assyrian practice, it marks the historical beginning of the Jewish diaspora, which is us, right? The so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. We're the ones who always been getting dispersed, right? This chapter in the Jewish diaspora, however, never has been really written. For the Hebrews deported from Israel seem to have blended in with Assyrian society by the time Nebuchadnezzar II conquers Judah 587 BC. The southern kingdom of the Hebrews, the Israelites deported by Sargon II, have dispersed nameless and faceless into the sands of northern Mesopotamia. That's not true, because we're going to read about what happened to them. They didn't just disappear off the face of the earth, right? They came on this side of the world, right? So real quick, let's go to Ezekiel. So the Most High basically gave us what we asked for. Ezekiel chapter 20 and verse 31. All right, it says, for when you offer your gifts, when you make your sons to pass through the fire, you pollute yourself with all your idols, even unto this day. And shall I be inquired by you, O house of Israel? As I live, said the Lord, I will not be inquired of by you. Right? So he's like, baby, you wanted to live like the heathen. Now you getting what you asked for. You get to live like the heathen, but forcibly, right? Northern Kingdom went into this big idolatry. It says, and that which cometh into your mind shall not be at all. That ye say, we will be as the heathen and as the families of the countries to serve wood and stone. Right? That's what primarily Northern Kingdom had a big problem with. Right? Big problem with that. Right? Let's go here. Let me see what I got. You got that. Let's go to Hosea. Matter of fact, we're gonna deal with that. Let's go back to Hosea. Chapter 9. So point of bringing this all out is to show you this is what made Israel look so different. It's a vast variety of like shades, noses, lips, just we look different. We don't all look the same. Everybody don't have dark skin and woolly hair. That's not, you don't have to have that per se to be Judah even, right? That's just how some of us look, right? So we're going to read Hosea chapter 9 and verse 12. All right, it says, though they bring up their children, yet will I bereave them. that there shall not be of a man left. So this is a prophecy going into Ephraim, right? Puerto Rico, so to speak, so-called Puerto Ricans. Yea, woe also to them when I depart from them. Ephraim, as I saw Tyrus, is planted in a pleasant place. That's what he meant when he told Joseph, when Jacob blessed Joseph's children, he said he's planted by a well, meaning he's gonna be by water, right? Ephraim is gonna be somewhere where water is at, which is what Puerto Rico looks like, right? Let me show you a map. Look at Puerto Rico. It's surrounded by water, right? In the Caribbean. It's beautiful there, very beautiful there too, right? So look at Puerto Rico over here. When you look at it in reference to the United States, Puerto Rico is here, but that's how they blew it up big right there, right? So when you look at if you ever go to Puerto Rico, it's beautiful, beautiful. Watch this. Puerto Rico, beautiful. That's what he seen when he was prophesying. Puerto Rico, beautiful place. That's why it's a tourist attraction, right? White sand beaches, resorts, beautiful. That's read the Bible. Ephraim, as I saw Tyrus, is planted in a pleasant place, but Ephraim shall bring forth his children to the murderer. Going into that, the conquistadors was going to go there and rape their women. Also, a lot of their women willingly had sex with the conquistadors, going into his bowels going over the wall. The women would climb over the wall. It's a well-known wall. Let me see if I can figure out the name of it. Now, La Morella, the most enduring symbol of Puerto Rico is La Morella. Nearly 400 years old, the city wall is composed of rock, rubble, and mortar and wraps around Viejo San Juan from the cruise ship piers on San Juan Harbor to the capital of the Atlantic. Right, so this is the wall that it was talking about that they would go over. They built this wall to keep the conquistadors from coming in there, right? But the women would go over the dang on wall and willingly have sex with the conquistadors. That's why it says, but Ephraim shall bring forth his children to the murderer, right? So a lot of they women had sex with the white man, right? This is why a lot of them have fair skin, but you still got some dark skinned Puerto Ricans, right? So some would say, well, that would mean that they're Edomites. No, watch this. It says, give them, O Lord, what wilt thou give? Excuse me, give them a miscarrying womb and dry breasts, right? So there's a lot of women in Puerto Rico, a lot of women in Puerto Rico, right? But a lot of the boy children died so that you wouldn't have the race wiped out, right? It's a lot of women there though, right? It says, and for all their wickedness is in Gilgal. For there I hated them, for the wickedness of their doings, I will drive them out mine houses. I will love them no more. All their princes are revolted. So because Israel went into idolatry, Ephraim in particular, that was the judgment that they had because of that, right? Let me see. Let me see. Let me see. I want to stop here. I'm gonna get a few more and then I'm gonna do pick up. Because I don't want these to be too long. Let me go to the book of Ezra, chapter 9. So even Northern Kingdom was real mixed up, right? They were real mixed up in all shades. That's why you got dark-skinned Mexicans, dark-skinned Puerto Ricans. Some of them are light. Some of them, if you just looked at them, they look like white people, right? If you're not, if you don't just ask, right? So Ezra 9, and we're going to read 1 on down. It says, now when these things were done, the princes came to me saying, the people of Israel and the priests and the Levites have not separated themselves from the people of the land, doing according to their abominations, even of the Canaanites, the Hittites, Perizzites, Jebusites, those are all Africans, Ammonites, Moabites, Chinese and Egyptians, Africans and Amorites, Africans, Hamites, for they have taken their daughters for themselves, and their son for their sons, so that the holy seed have mingled themselves with the people of those lands. Yea, the hand of the princes and rulers have been chief in this trespass. So everybody from the chiefs of the tribes all the way down to the basic regular Joe. They was doing this, mingling themselves with the nations. So what you think we started looking like? We didn't retain our original features. And even like I said from the beginning, even with Jacob, he had children with 4 different women who weren't all Shemites, right? So those children even look different then from the beginning, right? It says, and when I heard this thing, I rent my garment and my mantle and plucked off the hair of my head and of my beard and sat down as Astonai. Then were assembled unto me everyone that trembled at the words of the God of Israel, because the transgressions of those that had been carried away. And I sat Astonai until the evening sacrifice. It says, and at the evening sacrifice, I arose up from my heaviness and have rent my garment and my mantle. I fell upon my knees and spread out my hands unto the Lord my God and said, oh my God, I am ashamed and blushed to lift up my face to thee, my God, for our iniquities are increased over our head, and our trespass is grown up unto the heavens. Since the days of our fathers have we been in a great trespass unto this day. For our iniquities have we, our kings and our priests, been delivered into the hand of the kings of the land, to the sword, to captivity, and to a spoil, and to confusion of face, as it is this day. Confusion of face, meaning you don't know, you can't just look at us and see that's those people. You can't do that with Israel. You cannot just look at us and say, that's Jake. Most of the time you think you can, but that's why we have to use the Bible. When we out teaching, it's not your job to just say who's who necessarily. Just read the Bible. If they say, okay, my father, and we'll get into that, how we say who's Judah and Benjamin and Levi, but that's why we say more than likely. And we'll get into why we say more than likely you're Judah, more than likely you're Benjamin. We'll break those tribes down through the spirit and show you why we have the prophecies that connect those people with those tribes. But as far as looking at people's skin tone and saying, okay, you're Israel or you're not, bro, you don't know. Just read the Bible. The Bible will let you know who's who, right? So we got confusion of face. And for a little space, grace, and now for a little space, grace have been shown from the Lord our God to leave us a remnant to escape and to give us a nail in his holy place, that our God may lighten our eyes and give us a little reviving in our bondage. For we are bondmen, yet our God have not forsaken us in our bondage, but have extended mercy unto us in the sight of the kings of Persia, to give us a reviving, to set up the house of our God, to repair the desolations thereof, and to give us a wall in Judah and in Jerusalem. Right? So that's another point too. Everybody's so big on Persia, Darius, the Mede, and the Persians were good. No, they weren't. We were in captivity there too. All right, they just the Most High just gave us some mercy, right? So watch this. Let me jump down. Verse 11, which thou hast commanded by the servants, prophets, saying, the land unto which you go into, it is unclean. It is an unclean land with the filthiness of the people of the lands and their abominations, which have filled it from one end to another with their uncleanness. Now, therefore, give not your daughters unto their sons, neither take their daughters unto your sons, nor seek their peace or their wealth forever, that ye may be strong and eat the good of the land and leave it for an inheritance to your children forever. And after all that has come upon us for our evil deeds and for our great trespass, seeing that our God has punished us less than our iniquities deserve and has given us such deliverance as this, should we again break the commandments and join in affinity with the people of these abominations? Wouldst thou not be angry with us till thou hast consumed us? And there should be no remnant nor escape. So Ezra is like, man, we barely got away. The Lord just so much gave us a remnant of us. He left a little bit of our seed behind. Why? Because Israel was mixing up. It was mixing it up, right? So Israel, because of this, Judah, because of this, started a clean house, right? Watch this. Jump over to the next chapter. Judah started a clean house because of this. Right? It says, now, when Ezra had prayed and when he had confessed, weeping and casting himself down before the house of God, there assembled unto him out of Israel a very great congregation of men and women and children, for the people wept very sore. And Shechaniah, the son of Jehiel, one of the sons of Elam, answered and said unto Ezra, we have trespassed against our God and have taken strange wives of the of the people of the land. Yet now there is hope in Israel concerning this thing. Now, therefore, let us make a covenant with our God to put away all the wives and such as born of them, because to the counsel of my Lord and of those that tremble at the commandment of our God, and let it be done according to the law. Right? So this is what the beginning of Judah, southern kingdom. Judah, Benjamin, and Levi starting a clean house, starting to put away their strange wives, and starting to try to get Israel back on some kind of track to be holy and set apart as far as their genealogy was concerned, right? This was the beginning of that, right? So let me see how much time I got. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pick it up right there. We're gonna get into it right back there, right? So intro, like I say, this is pretty extensive. You know what? We're gonna go on and finish the intro. Go on and finish the intro. Let me see where I want to go. Because I'm just dealing with pretty much that Israel had diverse features. This is the main point I want to make before I leave off. Because I did to take y'all into the Assyrian captivity to let y'all know about Shalmaneser. So let's go to Second Esdras, chapter 13 and verse 40. Right, so this is during Assyrian captivity, right? It's gonna say it. It said, those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoner out of their land, out of their own land in the time of Hosea the king, which we read about him earlier, right? What was that at? In Second Kings. Yep, Second Kings 17. Right. So this is like he's telling what happened more, expounding on it more during in this passage right here. Right. These are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hosea the king. When they say 10 tribes, this is including the tribe of Dan. Dan was still around at this time. When Northern Kingdom went into captivity, Dan was with them. They were still a part of us at that time. They eventually got assimilated into other nations, and they just they weren't a tribe no more. The Most High pronounced that they wouldn't be a part of us no more. Right? We'll do a whole breakdown on what happened to Dan at another time. Right. So this was including Dan though, when they said the 10 tribes that went out. Right. It says during the time of Hosea the king, whom Shalmaneser, this is Shalmaneser the fifth, the king of Assyria led away captive, and he carried them over the waters, and so came they into another land. Right. So they came into another land. Right. Like it said, he made them to. Let me get my chart real quick. He made them to assimilate, basically, right? But he would part of the oppression that he did was he would make you go in masses to other lands, right? That's part of and he did that to prevent a revolt in his empire, right? Really need a reader for this type of thing. Most I will, and next time I do this, I can have a reader because it'll be a whole lot easier to stay on track. Yeah. Verse, they say, and he carried them over the waters, and so came they into another land. But they took this counsel among themselves, that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt, that they might there keep their statutes, which they never kept in their own land. So when Shalmaneser took them captive, they're like, look, this happening to us because we didn't keep the commandments. We got to start doing that again. Let's separate from the heathen and go somewhere else where never mankind dwelt before. Right? It says, and they enter into the Euphrates by the narrow places of the river. For the Most High then showed signs for them and held still the flood till they were passed over. For through that country there was a great way to go, namely of a year and a half. And the same region is called Arsarid, right? So to get from Persia and Assyria to America, right? It took a year and a half, right? Arsarid is America. Watch this. Yep, Jewish encyclopedia. Right? It says the name, look, Arsarid, the name of the land beyond the great river, far from away from the habitation of man, in which the 10 tribes of Israel will dwell. observing the law of Moses until the time of the restoration, until the second coming of the Messiah, according to 2nd Ezra chapter 13, verse 40, right? 45. It says, Columbus identified America. Columbus identified America with this land, with Arsarat. He knew that was Arsarat. They just called it America when they came over here. All right. So this is how this all came together, man. This is how these people came over on this side of the world. Well, at that time, right? During this time, what we reading about, this is around 480 something BC. Between that time period, between 500 and 480 BC is when this is taking place, when they came over at that time. But they came over before that, closer to the 900 BCs during the time of Solomon's reign. And most High willing, we'll get into that more next time we do another class on this series, right? So I'm gonna end it there. I don't want to take up too much time. Like I said, most High willing, next time I have a reader, I try to just do a lot this time and just kind of just get it started, because I have been putting it off and just like, I need more information, I need more books. But I think I got enough to get the point across. All right. So all praises to the Most High. I appreciate y'all for tuning in, for listening, for learning, right? That's what we all about here at New Wine Congregation of Israel, learning and understanding why it is we teach what we teach. All right. That's only right, right? So all praise to the Most High God, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah. With that, I'm going to say shalom. I'll see y'all next time.